Chapter 10:18. The Qing Wei group was in the wrong in the first place. You should teach them a lesson. But that girl Yu Qingwei's personality isn't bad. She's also a good person. Her talent and strength are top-notch in the holy court of the Empire of Qin. She most likely doesn't know about what happened this time. If you meet her in the future, just treat it as this old man asking you to be lenient. Don't be too ruthless. The Grand Principal said with a bitter face. It wasn't easy to nurture a genius pharmacist. Especially Yu Qingwei. Before he found Luo Qingtong and Su Xiaoxiao, she had always been the trump card of the medicine courtyard. She was the top genius pharmacist of the holy court of the Empire of Qin. The Grand Principal naturally didn't want her to fight to the death with Luo Qingtong. So he came to plead for leniency. Luo Qingtong found it funny. She looked at the Grand Principal's wrinkled face and said, "Don't worry. If she really is the kind of person you say she is, as long as she doesn't take the initiative to provoke me, I won't do anything to her." Luo Qingtong's personality was evil, solitary, and liked to hold grudges. Whoever angered her had to be prepared to be skinned alive. But she wouldn't casually bully others. As long as the other party didn't provoke her for no reason, she definitely wouldn't make a move. But if the other party deliberately provoked her, then sorry, she wouldn't give face to the emperor. Okay. The Grand Principal quickly nodded. Luo Qingtong being able to give him this kind of promise was already very good. He couldn't let her not pursue this matter, right? Not to mention Luo Qingtong, even if he was provoked like this, he wouldn't be willing to let it go. The Grand Principal thought for a while and nodded, "That's right." He said to Luo Qingtong, "You don't need to worry about that blockhead. He's very good right now. I sent him to do some things for me. When he comes back, his strength will definitely be reborn." Speaking of Chu Lingfeng, the Grand Principal's face turned green. These two master and servant weren't to be trifled with. Luo Qingtong was one thing, but that blockhead was a desperate man. After coming to the holy court of the Empire of Qin, he desperately challenged the students on the rankings. Originally, the Grand Principal and the teachers of the Empire of Qin Holy Court were quite happy to see this situation. Originally, the Great Qin Sacred Academy encouraged students to compete with each other as this would help them temper themselves. But Chu Lingfeng, that blockhead, didn't care about his life when he fought. Not only that, but he also was of the school's challenge, but also the most important thing. Needless to say, if he continued to challenge like this, his strength would indeed increase very quickly. But the other students couldn't take it anymore. They did not have Chu Lingfeng's abnormal physique. Even if they were beaten half to death one day, they would be full of energy the next day. Every time they fought with Chu Lingfeng, they would have to rest for a long time. But if they didn't provoke Chu Lingfeng, he would provoke them. In short, if there was a challenge, they had to go. If there was no challenge, they had to create a challenge. Because of this, the Grand Principal's office was almost trampled to the ground by the students. The Grand Principal had no choice but to send Chu Lingfeng out and let him harm others. First, he could improve his strength. Second, he could vent his anger. It was killing two birds with one stone. Thinking of this, the Grand Supreme Dean laughed secretly. Luo Qingtong nodded. Chapter 10:19. However, it was a good thing that he was treated differently by the Grand Dean. The Grand Dean had sharp eyes and knew how to train him. Luo Qingtong wanted to say goodbye to the Grand Dean, so she turned around and went back directly. The Qing Wei group's actions against the Heavenly Demon group were getting more and more intense. After the bet, the Qing Wei group went back and spread the news that anyone who went against the Heavenly Demon group would be able to get their free elixirs. It seemed that they were determined to push Luo Qingtong out of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. At the same time, at the Dragon Group's base, Mo Chenxian looked at the news in front of him and sneered. Ma Qingyi is going to buy elixirs from the outside. He is going to support Luo Qingtong and her heavenly demon group to the end. Mo Qinchuan's face was full of disdain. Luo Qingtong was a woman from an inferior country. Even if she had some talent and strength, it was okay to play with her. Ma Qingyi was crazy to be so protective of her. However, this was exactly what he wanted. Mo Qinxian thought and immediately ordered the people around him, "Let our people buy elixirs from the market immediately. No matter the price, buy all of them." Didn't Ma Qingyi want to help Luo Qingtong? He would let him help as much as he wanted. Mo Qinxian had a good plan. He wanted to buy most of the elixirs from the market before Ma Qingyi did. By then, if Ma Qingyi still wanted to help Luo Qingtong, he would have to buy the elixirs at a high price. By then, he could sell the elixirs he had. He could make a lot of money and use this to annoy Ma Qingyi in the future. Thinking of this, Mo Qinxian burst into laughter. In the Qing Wei group, Luo Yiran and Mo Yufei were so angry when they heard this. Brother Crown Prince is so silly. It's all because of that Luo Qingtong who bewitched Brother Crown Prince. Mo Yufei gritted her teeth and said fiercely. "Humph, even if your highness wants to help Luo Qingtong, it's only temporary." It was impossible for Luo Qingtong and the others to buy all the medicinal liquids they needed from outside. "Let's see how long they can last," Roy said. Ma Qingyi's actions infuriated her. Originally, she thought that since they were targeting Luo Qingtong, the crown prince would inevitably alienate her. She didn't expect him to be so protective of her. Princess Yufei was right. Luo Qingtong had to be eliminated. She had actually bewitched the crown prince to such an extent. In the eyes of Luo Yiran and the rest of the Qing Wei group, only Yu Qingwei was worthy of Ma Qingyi. Of course. I want to see how unlucky Luo Qingtong and the others are. Mo Yufei was very proud. Luo Qingtong and the others couldn't be arrogant this time. Big Brother Xian had already made his move. The matter of Big Brother Crown Prince collecting the medicinal liquid this time would absolutely not go so smoothly. Luo Qingtong and the others would definitely not be able to hold on. They could only wait to be driven out of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Even if they didn't leave the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, their days in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin would be hated by everyone, just like rats crossing the street. This was the result of offending her. Mo Yufei felt very comfortable as if she could already see the miserable days of Luo Qingtong and the others in the future. She thought of Yu Wenma and decided to tell him the news to make him happy. As for Su Jinyue, Mo Yufei really didn't want to see her disgusting appearance. Mo Yufei thought of this and immediately went to find Yu Wenma. Chapter 1020. No one knew what she was doing inside. However, Su Xiaoxiao and the rest had been instructed by Luo Qingtong not to act rashly and to wait for her to come out. Therefore, no matter how the Qing Wei group provoked them, Su Xiaoxiao and the rest restrained themselves and ignored them. They believed that when Luo Qingtong came out, she would definitely have a way to solve the Qing Wei group's problem. Boss. A group of people stood guard outside Luo Qingtong's door. At this moment, they heard a creak and Luo Qingtong's door opened. Su Xiaoxiao and the rest turned around in surprise and saw the figure of the young girl who appeared at the door. They cried out in surprise. Luo Qingtong nodded lightly and stepped out. "All right, you can go to the Pharmaceutical Institute now." "Ah." Everyone looked at Luo Qingtong in surprise. "Us? Boss, you're not going." The group looked at Luo Qingtong. "Of course I'll go, but not with you," Luo Qingtong said with a smile. She rubbed the waist ring on her finger, which contained her results from the past few days. Today, she was going to break the Qing Wei group's plan and their pride. They wanted to force her to leave the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin. They weren't qualified. In the resource hall of the Pharmaceutical Institute. A group of students from the Pharmaceutical Institute were busy inside. They were counting the medicinal liquid resources that they had collected and were going to distribute to the students of the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin. These medicinal liquid resources were all refined by the students of the Pharmaceutical Institute. Among them, there were naturally high and low grades. The high-grade medicinal liquid exclusive to the Heavenly Hall was refined by the best of the students of the Pharmaceutical Institute. Those people were almost all members of the Qin Wei group. The students of the Pharmaceutical Institute in the resource hall were counting as usual. They were counting and chatting at the same time. There's still no Heavenly Demon Group's resources today. Yeah. It seems that the Qin Wei group is really going to kill them all. Without the medicinal liquid, their strength in the Heavenly Palace will soon be surpassed by others. When the time comes, there will be a lot of people waiting to replace them as heaven-grade students. That's right. I think that Luo Qingtong will be forced to withdraw from the Holy Academy. After all, the entire Qin Wei group is against her. This isn't the same as when she dealt with the Dragon Corps. At this time, martial arts won't be of much use. The Qin Wei group isn't afraid either. As long as they don't give the elixirs to the Heavenly Demon group, Luo Qingtong and the others will naturally weaken. Yeah. Someone continued, I heard that His Highness the Crown Prince is preparing to purchase medicinal liquids outside. Chapter 1021. That resource hall student had already clearly seen the token in her hand and immediately cried out involuntarily. The chief's token. He looked at the token in Luo Qingtong's hand in shock. Oh my God, it's the chief's token. The chief's token. Hearing his shout, the other students stopped what they were doing and turned to look at him in unison. What chief's token? Ah, Zheng, don't joke around. This year, our pharmacy also. Oh my God. It really is the chief's token. The group stared at the token in Luo Qingtong's hand in shock. How is this possible? This year's chief hasn't been decided yet. Moreover, even if someone became the chief, shouldn't it be Senior Sister Yu? As everyone thought of this, their hearts were suddenly filled with an indescribable shock. At this moment, the voice of a student from the pharmaceutical department suddenly rang out. Wait, I remember now. When the semester started in the second half of this year, the Grand Principal said that our pharmacy has an honorary chief. It can't be her, right? As the student from the Pharmaceutical Institute spoke, he looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. When the others heard him say this, they instantly thought of this matter. That's right, when the semester started this year, the Grand Principal did say this. And the Grand Principal of the pharmacy also silently agreed. At that time, they were still wondering who could make the Grand Principal and the Grand Principal of the pharmacy issue such an order. The honorary first seat was truly unheard of. That person had never appeared, and they had all forgotten about it. Oh my God! That person, is it her? Honorary chief. The group stared at Luo Qingtong in shock. But what shocked them even more was what she said next. I want to refine medicinal liquid for the Heavenly Demon Group. Please give me their refining resources. The Heavenly Demon Group. Oh my God. They were just saying that the Heavenly Demon Group would be unlucky, and that Luo Qingtong would be forced to leave the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. They didn't expect to be slapped in the face. This mysterious honorary chief of the pharmacy wanted to refine medicinal liquid for the Heavenly Demon Group. With him around, the Heavenly Demon Group did not have to worry about running out of elixirs. The worst that could happen was that the application would take a little longer. After all, one person's power was limited. Just as they were thinking, they suddenly heard Luo Qingtong take the refining resources they handed over and walk to an empty corner at the side. She said, "Can we use this place?" Ah. Everyone was a little confused, but they still nodded. Sure. That corner was empty to begin with. However, as soon as the voice of that student from the resource hall's pharmaceutical department fell, in an instant, they were stunned to see Luo Qingtong wave her hand. In an instant, piles of neatly stacked jade bottles appeared in the empty corner. These are the potions that I've prepared for the Heavenly Demon Group. It's for the Heavenly Demon Group. Luo Qingtong's faint voice sounded in the resource hall. This, Chief. The potions that are handed over to the resource hall must be refined within these few days. The group looked at the pile of potions and gulped. There were so many potions, it couldn't be that she had just refined them, right? As they thought of this, they immediately reminded her, also, the potions purchased are not counted. Chapter 1022. In the future, these could be used to exchange for more precious treasures in the Holy Court. Therefore, the requirement must be to refine the elixir by oneself. The resource hall had a special way of checking. A group of people thought that Luo Qingtong was not in the medicine hall before and did not know about these rules, so they specially reminded her. I did refine it. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and said, it took no more than 3 days to refine. Otherwise, why did she lock herself in the room these few days? Of course, it was for the elixir. The Qing Wei group's plan was not difficult to break. As long as there was someone who was better at refining elixirs than them and could refine better elixirs, the situation that they formed against the Heavenly Demon Group simply did not exist. Without the threat of the elixir, the Qing Wei group's threats were nothing to them. But Luo Qingtong did not only do this. The Qing Wei group used the elixir to threaten her people, intending to force her out of the holy court of the Empire of Qin. If Luo Qingtong did not teach them a lesson, then wouldn't she be letting down those people who were taught a lesson by her in the past? Those people had all been taught a painful lesson. Luo Qingtong thought, and said to the group of resource hall students who were completely stunned by her words, tell everyone who came to the resource hall to get the elixir, if anyone is against the Qing Wei group, I will refine the elixir for them. The elixir that the Qing Wei group refined for them before, I will give them 10% more. Luo Qingtong's words were extremely domineering. The Qing Wei group used the elixir to threaten her. Let those people isolate the Heavenly Demon Group. She wanted them to have a taste of this. In addition, tell the other medicine hall students, if they are willing to refine the elixir for the Heavenly Demon Group, I will give them a free elixir formula. I guarantee that they will be able to refine elixirs that are not inferior to the Qing Wei group members. If Luo Qingtong's first words were a tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye, then the last words were her counterattack to the Qing Wei group. And it was the kind that hit the bullseye. The people from the Qing Wei group might not care about what she said earlier. After all, as long as they knew how to concoct medicine, and even concoct high-grade medicine, there wouldn't be so many forces coming to deal with them. They would not end up like the Heavenly Demon Group. But Luo Qingtong's words hit them right at their core. Where did the Qing Wei group get the confidence to target the Heavenly Demon Group and drive Luo Qingtong out of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin? Wasn't it because the outstanding students of the pharmaceutical department were all in their Qing Wei clique? Therefore, they could summon the students of the Empire of Qin to fight against Luo Qingtong and the Heavenly Demon Group. But what if they no longer had this advantage? Who would care about their targeting and orders? Luo Qingtong's move was a drastic one. After that, she left, leaving only one sentence: if you want to find her, go to the Heavenly Demon Group. The group of medicine hall students stared at Luo Qingtong's back as she left. Looking at the pile of elixirs in the corner, they suddenly felt like they were in a dream. Oh my God! In 3 days, she managed to concoct so many elixirs. Her mastery of alchemy had reached the pinnacle. Chapter 1023. Because the process was too complicated, the difficulty of each fusion was too high, and the fusion point was too difficult to grasp. It was easy to fail at the last step. But the other party was able to refine so many medicinal liquids in such a short period of time. They were terrified just thinking about it. All right. They thought that the heavenly demon group would be in big trouble this time. But they did not expect an honorary lead disciple of the pharmaceutical department to appear out of nowhere and turn the tide, destroying the good situation that the Qing Wei group had set up. They could already imagine how much of a threat the Qing Wei group would pose to the heavenly demon group once these medicinal liquids were distributed. Just as they were thinking about it, they suddenly heard a student from the pharmaceutical department who went to check on the medicinal liquids shouting, "Come and see! These medicinal liquids are all of the best quality. The best quality medicinal liquids." That was the medicinal liquids that retained 70 to 80% of their medicinal properties. To be able to refine so many medicinal liquids in such a short period of time and to ensure such high medicinal properties retention, they did not know what to say anymore. The other party had such superb alchemy skills, the Qing Wei group was definitely in big trouble this time. This mysterious honorary lead disciple of the pharmaceutical department was obviously going to stand up for the heavenly demon group. The group thought and looked at each other. Suddenly, a student from the pharmaceutical department shouted, I forgot to ask for her name." The group of people stared at each other. After Su Xiao and the rest arrived at the pharmaceutical department, they received their medicinal liquids. The members of the heavenly demon group were dumbfounded. Especially when they heard that the person who helped them was the honorary lead disciple of the pharmaceutical department, their eyes widened. They did not know anything about this at all right. But Su Xiao and the rest who knew about Luo Qingtong's true identity, their eyes lit up. "It's the boss." Su Xiao, Yuan Hu, Sima Ju, and Ling Tianhan looked at each other and mouthed to each other. They knew about Luo Qingtong's identity as the honorary lead disciple of the pharmaceutical department. Especially Su Xiao, she was so happy that her eyes narrowed. How could she forget about the boss's identity? The person that the grand principal wanted to recruit into the pharmaceutical department was the boss. Su Xiao scolded herself for her carelessness. Previously, she was still worried that Qing Wei clique's plan would not be easy to break. Luo Qingtong's identity might be exposed. Now that Luo Qingtong had made her move, the situation had taken a complete turn. Boss's identity doesn't need to be exposed, that's great. Everyone was overjoyed. The rest of the heavenly evil group were surprised and cheered as well. Although they didn't know how Luo Qingtong and the others knew the mysterious honorary chief of the pharmaceutical department, with the other party on their side, they didn't have to be afraid of the Qing Wei group's threat at all. Boss was simply the best. The group definitely didn't think that it was Su Xiao and the others who contributed to this. The latter and the others were just as worried as they were before. Now that it was solved, it was definitely Luo Qingtong's credit. Who would have thought that Luo Qingtong would actually know that mysterious honorary lead pharmacist? This time, the people from the Qing Wei group were about to die from anger. Serves them right for kicking an iron plate. The group of people from the heavenly evil group thought about it and cheered happily. Soon, this news spread throughout the entire holy court of the Empire of Qin. Everyone knew that a mysterious honorary lead disciple had appeared in the pharmaceutical department. On the same day, a few people came to the heavenly evil group's base and expressed their willingness to refine potions for the heavenly evil group. After signing the agreement and confirming that there would be no violation, they all received a formula for the medicinal liquid. What shocked them was that on the formula, there was a perfect refining process. This included heat control, hand speed, refining fusion degree, refining fusion point, various changes in medicinal properties, as well as how to reverse and remedy any errors. Every point was described in extreme detail. Looking at this formula, the few of them finally understood what the honorary lead alchemist meant when he said that the medicinal liquid they refined would not be weaker than those genius alchemists from the Qingwei group. Chapter 1025. What was a heaven-defying method? This was a heaven-defying method. Just how high must the other party's alchemy skills be to be able to describe the refining steps, the degree of fusion, and the changes in the medicinal properties in such detail? What shocked them even more was that they knew the contents of the formula and could remember it in their minds, but they could not express it or say it out loud. Of course, they could not write it out either. In other words, only they knew the contents. No one knew how the mysterious honorary head of the Pharmaceutical Institute had done it, but the students of the Pharmaceutical Institute were already convinced of his strength. After they went back, they immediately returned and joined the Heavenly Demon group. After all, who wouldn't want to get closer to such an alchemist whose alchemy skills were formidable to such a terrifying extent, in order to be able to obtain some pointers? Unfortunately, they did not know who the other party was, so getting in touch with the other party's Heavenly Demon group was their only choice. 1 person, 2 people, 3 people. More and more students from the pharmacy department joined the Heavenly Demon group to refine medicinal liquids for them. What was even more surprising was that the students of the alchemy department who joined the Heavenly Diabolism group, no matter how poor their aptitudes were or how bad the effects of their potions were, the potions they refined after joining the group were of the highest quality. This strong contrast between good and bad, heaven and hell, made everyone finally understand the true ability of the honorary lead disciple of the pharmacy department. She could really turn something rotten into something magical. In fact, for Luo Qingtong, this was just a matter of using her ocular technique to analyze the medicinal properties. Her ocular technique could see through and analyze everything. The refining steps and medicinal properties of those medicinal liquids were all in her eyes. Under such circumstances, as long as they followed her instructions to refine medicinal liquids, it was like playing a game according to a strategy. It would be strange if they did not get high scores. Although the formula given by Luo Qingtong was only for the medicinal liquids distributed by the sacred court, the description of medicinal properties was too detailed. Smart people could easily draw inferences and apply it to other medicinal liquids. With this, many people's alchemy levels broke through. For a time, the students from the pharmacy department rushed to the Heavenly Demon group to sign up, wanting to refine medicinal liquids for the Heavenly Demon group. Seeing that the students of the pharmaceutical department had tasted the sweetness, some of the student forces could no longer sit still. A student group that was only slightly weaker than the Gui Yuan group and the Dragon group tried to go against the Qing Wei group and stood on the side of the Heavenly Demon group. Very soon, the medicinal herbs they sent were refined into medicinal liquid. Furthermore, the retention rate of the medicinal properties was 10% higher than what the Qing Wei Tuan refined for them, 90%. This was already close to a transcendent grade medicinal liquid. Ordinary high-level alchemists couldn't refine it. With every 10% increase in the retention rate of the medicinal properties, the medicinal effects of this medicinal liquid would be even better. All of a sudden, a group of high-level student forces heard the news and acted immediately. In just a few days, the Qing Wei group's actions against Luo Qingtong had completely reversed. They were the ones being targeted and isolated. Bang! In the Qing Wei group's encampment, Luo Yiran had already smashed countless decorations and things. Since the establishment of the Qing Wei group, they had never suffered such a huge loss. They were alchemists, and they were also well-known geniuses of the medicine garden. The students of the Heavenly Palace of the Holy Academy would do anything to support them. Chapter 1026. Alchemists generally didn't need to be strong, so they didn't need to go to the Heavenly Temple's training ground. But they had to use the pharmacy's training facilities and refining equipment, right? Otherwise, how could they improve their alchemy skills and familiarity? But now, most of the people in the pharmacy had joined the Heavenly Demon group, and they were fighting against them. The Qing Wei group often couldn't get their hands on the training facilities and refining equipment. They were almost going crazy. They finally tasted the feeling of being isolated by the Heavenly Demon group before. And it was 100 times more painful than the latter. Because they had been standing too high before, they hadn't suffered any setbacks. They were caught off guard and couldn't stand it. Luo Yi ran and the others were so angry that their faces were almost swollen. On the other side, Mo Yufei wasn't any better than them. She was even more painful. She went to Yu Wenma and proudly told him that she had instigated the Qing Wei group to deal with Luo Qingtong. She told him that it wouldn't be long before Luo Qingtong couldn't be arrogant anymore. At that time, she could only be kicked out of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, or kneel down and bow her head. She was so proud of herself, but she didn't notice that Yu Wenma was lying on the bed, looking at her with more and more confused and crazy eyes. Yu Wenma was almost driven crazy by the cold in his body. He hadn't been attacked by the cold for a long time, and he didn't know how painful it was when the cold broke out in the past. Now that he was lying in bed, living a life worse than death, he finally realized how stupid he had been in the past. If he didn't despise Luo Qingtong, he wouldn't be like this now. Yu Wenma's heart was full of pain and regret. At this moment, he suddenly felt a familiar aura coming from Mo Yufei's body that could relieve the cold aura that was suppressing his body. Instantly, Yu Wenma's mind was blurred. He instinctively followed the aura and pounced over, wanting to relieve his pain a little more. Mo Yufei was talking happily at this moment. She didn't expect that Yu Wenma, who was lying on the bed, suddenly got up and threw himself at her. Ah! In the next second, there was the sound of clothes being torn, and Mo Yufei's scream became even more shrill. She did like Yu Wenma in the past, but that was because he was handsome and powerful. Now that Yu Wenma was crippled, Mo Yufei's feelings for him gradually faded. As a princess of the royal family, she could have any man she wanted. How could she be together with a cripple? Moreover, the royal family would not allow it. It would be too shameful for the royal family. If Mo Yufei dared to be with Yu Wenma, the royal family would immediately depose her as the princess. By then, she would have nothing left. Mo Yufei was not that stupid. But now, everything was ruined. Mo Yufei's face was filled with despair. In the dragon regiment's base, Mo Qinchuan's face turned green when he received the news that Luo Qingtong had turned the tables. He had just purchased a large number of medicinal liquids from the market at a high price, and now Luo Qingtong had turned the tables. Then who did he sell those medicinal liquids to? In order to make things difficult for Luo Qingtong and Ma Chenyi, he had been competing with the latter to buy the elixirs in the holy capital. Now, the price of the medicinal liquids was more than 30 times the previous price. He had thought that after admiring Luo Qingtong and Ma Chenyi's embarrassed expressions, he could sell the medicinal liquids to Ma Chenyi at a higher price. Chapter 1027. But he didn't expect that Luo Qingtong would turn the tables like this. She even knew the mysterious honorary chief of the Pharmaceutical Institute. Mo Qinxian gritted his teeth and hurriedly ordered people to sell the elixirs to the Crown Prince's mansion. He hoped that Ma Chenyi didn't receive the news too early, so that the people in the Crown Prince's mansion couldn't react in time and he could reduce the loss. Mo Qinxian almost emptied half of the Wu Imperial mansion for the elixirs. If it fell into his hands, he would vomit blood. However, his subordinate hurriedly went out and finally turned back with a pale face. Your Highness, the people in the Crown Prince's mansion said that His Highness asked us to tell you that he thanked you for emptying the inventory of the Crown Prince's mansion and giving him a large amount of money and resources. He also said that the elixirs we bought at a high price were specially given to you as a souvenir and asked you to keep them well. Under Mo Qinchuan's murderous gaze, the subordinate trembled and said those words. Hearing this, Mo Qinxian was so angry that he vomited blood. Obviously, Ma Chenyi had seen through his plan from the beginning and was waiting for him to fall into the trap. Those elixirs he bought at a high price were all the other party's conspiracy. Ma Chenyi. Luo Qingtong. Mo Qinxian was so angry. In the encampment of the evil team, Luo Qingtong sat in the pavilion in her courtyard, looking at the things in her hands and slightly curling her lips. This was sent by Ma Chenyi, saying that it was a bonus from selling the elixirs and thanking her for her advice. Luo Qingtong looked at the huge number and could imagine how badly Mo Qinxian was cheated this time. This trick of inviting the monarch into a trap was really not bad. She could play more in the future. This time, the profit was almost 7 or 8 times the national treasury of the Tianyu Empire. Mo Qinxian really paid a lot this time. She didn't know how much blood he was spitting now. Luo Qingtong thought, and the smile on her lips became sweeter and sweeter. She did deliberately let Ma Qinyi go back to buy the elixirs. She wanted to trick Mo Qinxian. From the looks of it, the effect was pretty good. Moreover, Ma Qinyi was a person who could draw inferences from one instance. Luo Qingtong just wanted him to spread the news and let Mo Qinxian deliberately go against him in this situation. Then she would buy a batch of useless liquid at a high price and teach him a lesson. But he didn't expect that Ma Qinyi directly gave all the medicinal liquid in his mansion to Mo Qinxian. Not only that, but he also pretended to help her at all costs and deliberately competed with Mo Qinxian. As a result, he sold the expensive liquid medicine to Mo Qinxian, who desperately wanted to make trouble for him. When Luo Qingtong received the news from the Black Field, she almost laughed to death. If it were not for Ma Qinyi's arrangement, no matter how stupid Mo Qinxian was, he would not take out more than half of the Wu Imperial Mansion's assets to make trouble for her and Ma Qinyi. Now, not only did they fail to cause trouble, but they were also completely wiped out. As Luo Qingtong thought about it, she put away the dividends with a smile. Then she continued to do what she was doing. Recently, she got some inspiration from the gambling battle between her and Yuan Ma and was going to develop a new inscription pattern. If she could succeed, it would greatly improve the strength of the people around her. Luo Qingtong was a very protective person. As long as the people around her were loyal, she would always protect them. Chapter 1028. Luo Qingtong did not care about the aptitude of the people around her. What she cared about was his wholehearted devotion to her. Luo Qingtong was used to living alone in her previous life. Now that she could start over again, she wanted to live a different life. Su Xiaoxiao and the others were not faking their concern for her. Luo Qingtong was naturally willing to help them go further. She would never treat those who were good to her badly. Similarly, she would not let go of those who went against her. The days of the Qing Wei group were getting harder and harder. As more and more students joined the Heavenly Evil group, their life in the Heavenly Evil group was getting more and more crowded out and targeted. In the past, when they walked in the Heavenly Evil group, they were faced with all kinds of flattering and admiring gazes. When the students of the Heavenly Evil group saw them, they would come over and greet them. But now, they did not even dare to go out. Because as soon as they went out, they would face all kinds of hostility. Those students who joined the Heavenly Evil group and wanted to get the guidance of the mysterious honorary chief of the Heavenly Evil group would think of all kinds of ways to deal with them. In order to get the attention and special treatment of the mysterious honorary chief of the Heavenly Evil group. These people did not know the mysterious honorary chief of the Heavenly Evil group. If they wanted to get the others' attention, they could only start with the Heavenly Evil group and Luo Qingtong. And targeting the people of the Qing Wei group was the best way for them to get promoted. In this kind of situation, the people of the Qing Wei group were simply a necessary tool for them to gain goodwill. There was no Qing Wei group member who did not get bullied when they went out. Even Luo Yiran was no exception. This group of once arrogant genius pharmacists of the Qing Wei group were now worse than clowns. Walking on the streets, people would treat them as targets of ridicule and mockery. They were more like street rats that everyone wanted to beat up. Thinking about this, Luo Yiran and the others felt a burst of despair. If they knew that the price of provoking Luo Qingtong and the Heavenly Evil group was like this, they would not have been so impulsive. To put it bluntly, this matter was caused by them. Seeing that Luo Qingtong and the Heavenly Evil group were easy to bully, they went all out and forced them into a dead end. Otherwise, the conflict between them and the heavenly evil group would not have reached this point. And Mo Fei. If it was not for her inciting them, saying that Luo Qingtong was shamelessly seducing the crown prince, they would not have acted impulsively against Luo Qingtong and the heavenly evil group. He originally thought that he had helped senior martial sister Qing Wei get rid of a hateful vixen. Chapter 1029. The royal family of the Empire of Qin was extremely angry. Mo Yufei was so shameless that she even wanted a useless and ungrateful person like Yuan Mo. She had really disgraced the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Not to mention that Mo Yufei had become a useless person because of this. Immediately, a decree was sent out from the palace. Mo Yufei was expelled from the royal family of the Empire of Qin and demoted to a commoner. Her bloodline power, cultivation methods, and martial arts of the royal family of the Empire of Qin were also taken back. In short, her strength was abolished. Hearing this news, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly, looking indescribably evil and happy. The royal family of the Empire of Qin was really awesome. The cold air of Yuan Ma on Mo Yufei's body would actually dissipate soon. As long as she didn't let Yuan Ma get close to her, her strength would be restored. Now that the royal family of the Empire of Qin did this, Mo Yufei was really disabled. What should she say? The royal family of the Empire of Qin was really a godly assistant. This stab couldn't be any better. Ignoring this news, Luo Qingtong put her attention back on her hands. She had almost finished studying the new inscription pattern. Come here. She crooked her finger at Yuan Hu. The latter hurriedly came over. Boss. Well, take off your clothes, Luo Qingtong said to him. Yes. Yuan Hu hurriedly did as he was told and tore off his clothes. Luo Qingtong looked at him and her lips twitched. She asked him to take off his clothes, not tear them. Why was he so excited? People who didn't know better would think that she asked him to come over to serve her. Fortunately, Yi Qianxian wasn't here. Otherwise, she didn't know how to deal with him. Yuan Hu didn't think so much. He was indeed very excited. Boss's action of calling him was very familiar, okay? In the past, every time Luo Qingtong thought of a way to improve their strength, she would call them over like this. It must be the same this time. Thinking that every time Luo Qingtong called them, their strength would increase by a large margin, Yuan Hu suddenly trembled with excitement. Boss! You can do whatever you want. My skin is thick and my flesh is thick. I can definitely withstand it. The moment Yuan Hu said that, Luo Qingtong's hand, which was about to draw an inscription pattern on his body, trembled. How could this guy's words be so ambiguous? What did he mean by saying that he could handle whatever she wanted? Those who didn't know would think that she was going to rape him. If you don't know how to speak, then shut up. Luo Qingtong's face darkened as she looked at his excited expression. It was as if he was waiting for an SM. She felt a chill and almost kicked him out. If you keep nagging, I'll switch you out. Yuan Hu instantly shut his mouth. He didn't want to be replaced. Luo Qingtong drew an inscription pattern on Yuan Hu's back and then said to him, try to inject your aura into that inscription pattern. Activate the power inside and then attack. Yes. Yuan Hu responded and then followed Luo Qingtong's instructions. Boom. As his aura was injected into that inscription pattern, Yuan Hu's aura changed instantly. With a boom, he raised his hand and blasted an attack forward. Then, his eyes widened as he looked at the dense frost on it. This is cold air. Yuan Hu looked at his hands in disbelief. That attack just now was blasted out from his hands. However, he was clearly using the same attack as usual. How could there be cold air? Chapter 1030. This cold air, Yuan Hu and the others stared with their eyes wide open. Boss, is this Yuan Ma's cold air? Ling Tianhan and the others were not far away. They were all called over by Luo Qingtong. At this moment, they were all shocked by Yuan Hu's attack. This was clearly the power of the soul imprint. What was going on? How could Yuan Hu release a soul imprint attack? Everyone's eyes were wide open. Yes, it's Yuan Ma's cold air. It's also the attribute of his ice soul imprint. Luo Qingtong said indifferently. She looked at Yuan Hu's attack with satisfaction. Not bad, it perfectly reproduced the effect of Yuan Ma's ice attribute. Although the power was much weaker. But Yuan Hu wasn't a soul cultivator of the ice attribute. He didn't even use his soul skill. To be able to release such power, it was not bad. Boss, what's going on? Yuan Hu was excited. Oh my god. Didn't he have a petrification soul imprint? How could he release an attack with the effect of cold air? Yuan Hu was very sure that he wasn't the legendary genius with 2 soul imprints. Otherwise, how could he be thrown into the trash class and get to know Luo Qingtong? That's what happened. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. The inscription pattern I just carved for you will allow you to have a type of soul imprint power for a certain period of time. It's a fake soul imprint and will be very useful for your future battles. In simple terms, Luo Qingtong created a soul imprint for Yuan Hu. Everyone knew that the power of the soul imprint came from the soul. If it was 1 in 100 to become a martial artist, then the probability of becoming a soul personage was 1 in 10,000, or even 1 in 100,000. When a martial artist with a soul imprint released an attack, it would naturally trigger the attribute of the soul imprint, allowing their attack to have a different power and effect compared to other martial artists. Soul skills could increase the power and effect of the soul imprint. It was a soul personage's unique attack skill. At this moment, Yuan Hu, who had a petrification soul imprint, released an attack with the attribute of cold air. How could Ling Tianhan and the rest not widen their eyes in shock? Damn, boss, you're really amazing. Yuan Hu was stunned by Luo Qingtong's words. Fake soul seal. No matter how stupid he was, he knew what this meant. As long as they had this inscription pattern, even if they didn't have the corresponding soul imprint, they would still have the corresponding attribute power. As long as Luo Qingtong was willing, she could bestow them with any kind of soul imprint. Even if this power was only temporary. However, if they could obtain it and use it, it would be enough for them to gain the upper hand in battle. Oh my god. Little Pig poked his head out of Luo Qingtong's sleeve and stared blankly at the inscription pattern on Yuan Hu's back. Chapter 1031. Little Pig stared at the inscription pattern on Yuan Hu's back and wondered what kind of monster Luo Qingtong was. She didn't play by the rules at all. She hadn't even drawn a few intermediate inscriptions yet. How could she draw an advanced inscription pattern? In fact, Little Pig didn't know that this inscription pattern was the most difficult to draw among the advanced inscriptions. But for Luo Qingtong, it was the easiest inscription pattern to draw. Because she had the eye technique, she didn't need to cultivate to a high level like other inscriptionists to see through the essence of the soul seal. She could tell at a glance. Of course, she could draw it. However, it had to be a soul imprint that Luo Qingtong had analyzed. If she hadn't seen or analyzed the soul seal, she wouldn't be able to draw it. Therefore, Luo Qingtong could draw such a fake soul seal because she was opportunistic. She wasn't like those elders of the Immortal Slayer Palace, who could draw any inscription pattern with the power of the soul seal as they wished. After the experiment was a success, Luo Qingtong drew an ice attribute fake soul seal on Ling Tianhan, Sima Zhu, Ling Yu, Chu Wenhao, and Ling Tianqin. The power of the soul seal was analyzed by her from Yuan Ma. It was much stronger and more tyrannical than the usual ice attribute soul seal and could increase the strength of Yuan Hu and the others by a lot. In the end, Luo Qingtong drew a similar inscription pattern for Su Xiaoxiao. With this, Su Xiaoxiao would have a great guarantee when she needed to concoct medicine in the future. If anyone thought she was a pushover, they would be beaten to a pulp. Luo Qingtong then taught them the soul skills she analyzed from Yuan Ma so that they could practice more when they were free. Yuan Hu and the others were moved beyond words. No one knew better than them what kind of opportunity Luo Qingtong had created for them and what kind of path she had paved for them. "Boss, you're really too good to us." Yuan Hu, a burly man, was so excited that his eyes turned red. "All right, don't be so emotional." Luo Qingtong saw that their eyes were all red and they could not speak. She sighed and said, "All right, you risked your lives to save me in the Kaiyuan mystic realm. You are worthy of me doing all this for you. Remember, don't be left behind. I won't stop to wait for you. Understand?" She looked at them and said, "Yes." Everyone answered in unison, but they knew it clearly in their hearts. Luo Qingtong would not stop to wait for them, but she would drag them along. She worked hard to create a chance for them to catch up to her, so they couldn't disappoint her painstakingly. After they left, everyone's Luo Qingtong, Luo Chuyue, and Luo's aunts, Luo Qingtong, and Luo's, Luo. She was Luo Qingtong, Luo of Luo Qingtong was Luo, and her Luo Dragon Qingtong, Luo Qingtong. Unwavering in life and death, unyielding in the face of adversity. After Yuan Hu and the others left, Luo Qingtong went to look for Feng Yu. "You didn't see anything just now, right?" Luo Qingtong looked indifferently at Feng Yu, who appeared in front of her. Luo Qingtong wiped his sweat. He understood what Luo Qingtong meant. They wanted to admit defeat to Luo Qingtong. But before, they had pushed the heavenly demon group too hard. They had almost driven Luo Qingtong out of the empire of Qin's holy court. Under such circumstances, they didn't know if the other party would accept their surrender. And what kind of conditions would Luo Qingtong put forward? The group was in a dilemma when they suddenly heard that Yu Qingwei had returned. They immediately rushed out to greet her. Senior Sister. Chapter 1033. Senior Sister, I'm sorry. They looked at the girl in front of them, too ashamed to face her. Especially Luo Yiran, her face was pale and her head was lowered, not daring to look at Yu Qingwei. She was the one who had caused all of this. If she hadn't listened to Mo Yufei and attacked the heavenly demon group, the Qingwei group wouldn't have fallen to such a state. Looking at the haggard faces of the other members of the Qingwei group, who were no longer as proud as they used to be, Luo Yiran felt very regretful. This is indeed your fault. When Yu Qingwei came back, she heard about the conflict between the heavenly demon group and the Qingwei group. She also knew what was going on. This time, the Qingwei group was indeed at fault. The heavenly demon group's counterattack was not a problem. In fact, if Luo Qingtong didn't know the mysterious honorary chief of the pharmaceutical department, she might have been forced to leave the holy court. The heavenly demon group had been targeted so much, and now it was all returned to the Qingwei group. This time, no one could say that Luo Qingtong and the Qingwei group were in the wrong. But, this time, it was all because of her. Yu Qingwei thought about it and sighed. I'll talk to the heavenly demon group about this. You guys wait here for my news. No matter what, Luo Yiran and the others had offended Luo Qingtong and the heavenly demon group because of her. Anyone could blame them, but not Yu Qingwei. Alright, go and rest. But Luo Yiran and the others looked at her with red eyes. We offended the heavenly demon group too much. Luo Yiran and the others knew how much they had gone overboard, so they didn't think that Luo Qingtong and the heavenly demon group would let them go. They had almost forced Luo Qingtong and the heavenly demon group into a desperate situation. Moreover, they had mocked and humiliated Luo Qingtong and Su Xiaoxiao. Luo Yiran and the others almost cried when they said this. It's okay. Yu Qingwei looked at them and nodded. I will challenge the mysterious honorary head pharmacist of the medicine department. If I win, the heavenly demon group will not pursue this matter. If I lose, then I will apologize on your behalf, no matter what Luo Qingtong asks. I agree. No matter what, Qingwei group was at fault for this matter. Yu Qingwei couldn't watch Luo Yiran and the others continue to be tormented like this. However, she did not want to be enemies with the heavenly demon group. Thus, he could only come up with this method. A gambling match between alchemists. Whoever loses has to lower their heads. Fair and just, there was nothing to criticize. What? Senior sister. No. Luo Yiran and the others became anxious when they heard this. How could they let senior sister apologize on their behalf? They had done such an excessive thing before. Who knew how Luo Qingtong and the others would make things difficult for senior sister and what conditions they would put forward? Moreover, that honorary chief alchemist's strength was so strong. Senior apprentice sister might not be her match. Senior sister, you don't know, but that honorary chief alchemist's strength is really strong. Luo Yiran and the others told her everything that Luo Qingtong had done when she became the honorary chief alchemist. Not to mention anything else, just the formula that Luo Qingtong had given to those alchemists and guided them to refine the best quality medicine was enough to prove that her alchemy skills had reached the peak. Chapter 1034. The Qingwei group's members were all alchemists and were the best of the best. If it wasn't for Luo Qingtong's tempting conditions, the empire of Qin's holy court wouldn't have targeted them like this, causing them to fall into this situation. Senior sister. Luo Yiran and the others were anxious. It's fine. Yu Qingwei looked at them and shook her head, firmly saying, I will definitely participate in this battle. This is the only way to solve the problem. You don't need to worry. When I came back, I had already broken through the realm of alchemists and refined a complete pill elixir. If nothing unexpected happens, I should be the winner of this battle. Hearing this, Luo Yiran and the others cried out in joy. Senior sister, you broke through. Really? Luo Yiran and the others were indescribably happy. Yu Qingwei was a top genius in the empire of Qin's holy court's medicine department. If it wasn't for that honorary chief disciple, the chief disciple of the medicine department would definitely be Yu Qingwei. Because she had already found a new path and refined a pill elixir with a certain effect. This confirmed that she had the talent to become an alchemist. It had to be known that it was impossible to refine pills as an alchemist. One had to raise their alchemy skills to the peak to be able to use the power of heaven and earth to refine pills without any mistakes. But Yu Qingwei had refined a pill elixir as an alchemist. Even if it was just a fake pill elixir with almost no effect, it still proved that if nothing unexpected happened, she would definitely become an alchemist. They didn't think that she would be able to refine a complete pill elixir. Unless that honorary chief disciple could refine pills. Otherwise, senior sister would definitely win. Luo Yiran and the others thought this and immediately relaxed. As long as Yu Qingwei won, the matter between them and the heavenly demon group could be written off. Thinking this, they felt a burst of joy in their hearts. Challenge. In the heavenly demon group's encampment, Luo Qingtong looked at the girl sitting across from her. The latter was wearing a light green robe and looked as gentle as a pool of clear water. Luo Qingtong didn't expect the other party to be Yu Qingwei. She originally thought that Yu Qingwei would be similar to Mo Yufei and Su Jinyue based on what the Qingwei group had done before. Who would have thought that the difference would be so great? It was no wonder that the Grand Principal had specially sought him out and told him not to be so ruthless. If it wasn't for the other party's words, the punishment that the Qing Wei group would have received would definitely not be this severe. Just look at how the members of the Dragon Regiment had been insulted by her. Luo Qingtong actually left some face for the Qing Wei group. Luo Qingtong had a lot of means to deal with the Qing Wei group. It was enough to slap their faces until they were swollen. But because of the Grand Principal's words, she was slightly merciful. Now, it seemed that this favor was worth it. The other party was not someone who did not know what was good for him, nor was he an arrogant and despotic person. Yes. This is our fault after all. I would like to apologize to you here. But Ran and the others did it for me. Although I didn't know about it, I can't interfere in this matter. Yu Qingwei looked at Luo Qingtong and nodded slightly. I hope you can tell that honorary chief disciple that I challenge her. If I win, this matter will be written off. Chapter 1035. Luo Qingtong looked at the girl's calm face and narrowed her eyes. It seems like senior sister Qingwei is very confident. Luo Qingtong said with a smile, okay, I'll tell her. Yu Qingwei nodded at Luo Qingtong. Then I'll have to trouble junior sister Luo. She then left with Luo Ran and the others. After she left, Luo Qingtong smiled with interest. This Yu Qingwei was quite interesting. Luo Qingtong could see that the other party was very confident in the challenge. It seemed like she wanted to use this challenge to smooth over the conflict between the two sides. Was she certain that she would win? Luo Qingtong smiled as she thought about it. Her interest was piqued. And Yu Qingwei's attitude was very good. She didn't try to shirk responsibility or distort the truth. Instead, she sincerely wanted to apologize. Luo Qingtong's previous opponents were either green tea bitches or scheming bitches. It was rare to meet a normal one. Based on her attitude and the Grand Principal's pleading, even if she lost after the challenge, Luo Qingtong wouldn't target the Qingwei group anymore. In any case, the other party had been taught a lesson during this period of time. There was no need to continue killing them. She had promised the Grand Principal that she would be merciful. However, those people who had insulted Su Xiaoxiao before had to apologize personally. Luo Qingtong thought about it and immediately sent people to investigate Yu Qingwei to see where her confidence came from. When she saw the contents of the information, she smiled. So it's like this. Pill elixir. It seemed that the other party had some gains outside this time and was able to refine a complete pill elixir. That's why she was so confident and wanted to use this challenge to smooth over the grudges between the two sides. The other party was very sincere. Thinking about how Yu Qingwei was confident in winning but didn't make any excessive demands and only wanted to resolve the conflict between the two sides, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. She said to the people beside her, "Spread the word that the chief disciple has agreed to the duel with Yu Qingwei in 3 days." Luo Qingtong still had some things to take care of these 2 days. She didn't have time to compete with Yu Qingwei. Moreover, she had to give those people who wanted to see her play some time to prepare. Luo Qingtong thought about it as a crafty and evil light flashed in her eyes. The news that the chief disciple who supported the heavenly evil group was going to duel with Yu Qingwei quickly spread to every corner of the holy court in the empire of Qin Empire. When the Grand Principal heard this news, his head was B. Why did she make such a big fuss? Yu Qingwei came to seek reconciliation. Just forgive her. He was so worried that he was about to die. This last was the trump card he had prepared. He didn't want her to reveal everything before the grand event. Yu Qingwei, that girl, was already able to refine pill elixirs. Apart from revealing her pill techniques, what else could Luo Qingtong do to win? If she played like this, she would sooner or later expose the identity of the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. She should at least endure for a while. Wait until after that grand event, I'll show him my trump card before exposing it. The Grand Principal was also worried sick. He wished that he could run to Luo Qingtong and tell her to reject this challenge. However, the date had already been set. There was no way to reject it. Chapter 1036. Mo Chenxian, who had been gloomy because of the purchase of medicinal liquid at a high price last time, sneered when he heard the news. Yu Qingwei can already refine elixirs. Unless that honorary chief can refine elixirs, how can she win against her? Luo Qingtong is definitely going to be humiliated this time. Mo Chenxuan's mood improved a little when he thought of this. Unfortunately, Yu Qingwei's conditions were too mild. She only wanted to settle things peacefully. Otherwise, he could have taught Luo Qingtong and the rest a good lesson. Thinking that it was the other party in Ma Chenyi who had arranged a good show for him, causing him to suffer heavy losses, Mo Chenxian gritted his teeth fiercely. That Luo Qingtong got away with it for nothing. At this moment, a member of the Dragon Regiment suddenly said, "Your Highness, we secretly found out about Yu Qingwei from the Qingwei group. Luo Qingtong definitely knows about it. That honorary chief is extremely strong in refining elixirs. She definitely didn't expect the other party to lose. If Yu Qingwei doesn't deal with her, we can set up a trap ourselves and use this chance to make Luo Qingtong jump in herself. We can also set up a trap for His Highness the Crown Prince to help you vent your anger." Mo Chenxuan's eyes narrowed as soon as that member of the Dragon Regiment spoke. "You mean, Your Highness, we can set up a bet?" It was unknown where that member of the Dragon Regiment got this idea from. As soon as Mo Chenxian asked, he immediately spoke with assurance. "We can use this chance to place a bet and see who wins and who loses. Luo Qingtong doesn't know Yu Qingwei's strength. She will definitely bet on the honorary chief to win." At that time, that member of the Dragon Regiment chuckled. "Okay." Mo Chenxian thought carefully for a while and indeed felt that this was a good idea. He set up a bet and even the reason was justified. He couldn't stand Luo Qingtong and wanted to make things difficult for her. At that time, it would be logical for him to bet on Yu Qingwei. If Luo Qingtong was confident, she would definitely buy from her own side. This plan was flawless. He wasn't afraid that Luo Qingtong wouldn't fall for it. It was a pity that Ma Chenyi definitely wouldn't bet for Yu Qingwei. Otherwise, the two of them would take care of him together. Thinking of this, Mo Chenxian made the final decision. "Okay. Let's do it." He laughed out loud. The member of the dragon group was very proud, then he said, "Your Highness, you can also use reverse psychology to make Luo Qingtong accept other bets. When the result comes out, you can make her lose money and lose face." As he spoke, he laughed sinisterly. "Good. Very good." Hearing his words, Mo Chenxian felt very comfortable in his heart, and the gloominess in his heart before dissipated. He hurriedly sent someone to spread the news. Very soon, the people of the Empire of Qin's Sacred Court heard about the battle between Yu Qingwei and the honorary champion of the medicine department. They also knew that His Highness King Wu had set up a bet for the result of this battle. He bet that Yu Qingwei would win, and the ratio was 1-10. It seemed that His Highness King Wu didn't think highly of Luo Qingtong's side. Or rather, he was deliberately making things difficult for Luo Qingtong's side. Everyone was waiting to see how Luo Qingtong would react. They thought that His Highness King Wu's provocation this time was so obvious. Luo Qingtong and the rest definitely wouldn't pretend not to see it. They would probably go against His Highness King Wu. Chapter 1037. Everyone thought so, and soon they heard the news that Luo Qingtong and the others went to the betting place set by the Dragon Regiment. Your Highness King Wu seems to be in the mood for leisure. Luo Qingtong appeared at the betting place with the Heavenly Evil group and looked at Mo Chenxian, who was sitting in the hall. "It's just for fun. Junior sister Luo can't afford it, right?" Mo Chenxuan's words seemed calm, but in fact, he was provoking her. He implied that if Luo Qingtong came to make trouble, she could not afford it. Ordinary people would not be able to stand it when they heard this, let alone Mo Qinxian, who was criticizing Luo Qingtong and betting that she would definitely lose. Given the previous conflict between Luo Qingtong and the Dragon Regiment, it would be strange if she was not angry. Sure enough, as soon as Mo Qinxian finished his words, a trace of coldness flashed across Luo Qingtong's eyes, and then she smiled and said, "How can that be? I'm also here to bet for fun." As she said, she patted the table in front of her and said, "I'll bet as much as your Highness King Wu." As soon as she said that, Mo Qinxian suddenly sneered. It seems that junior sister Luo is very confident. He looked at Luo Qingtong, and then said coldly, "In this case, why don't we add another bet?" He said to Luo Qingtong, "The loser not only has to pay the bet money, but also has to become the other's slave." Mo Qinxian still could not forget that he wanted Luo Qingtong to be his slave last time. Her appearance and figure were not bad, and it would be good to get her to play with. Thinking of this, he suddenly raised his chin and said to Luo Qingtong, "How about it? Junior sister Luo, do you dare to bet?" Luo Qingtong looked at him. Although Luo Yunyang had deliberately lured the other party into setting up this trap, His Highness Martial King was really courting death. In this case, she would fulfill his wish. Luo Qingtong thought and said with a faint smile, "Your Highness King Wu must be joking. Even if you really lose, how can I dare to make you my slave?" Just based on the fact that the other party wanted to be his slave, he wasn't qualified. Moreover, the imperial family of the Empire of Qin was also a troublesome matter. Luo Qingtong was too lazy to go against her for Mo Qinxian. Thinking of this, she suddenly said, "Since your Highness insists on the bet, then the loser will have to run 10 laps around the Holy Academy, shouting that she is IB*TCH while running. What do you think? Does your Highness dare to bet?" "You." Of course, Mo Qinxian could tell that Luo Qingtong was calling him a bitch. Did she think that she would definitely win? Thinking of this, Mo Qinxian sneered. "Good. Since junior sister Luo is in such a good mood, then I will accompany you to the end. If she wants to be a bitch, then let her be." As the two of them were talking, they heard a voice. A voice rang out at this moment. "How about I bear witness?" The young man had a handsome figure, like a clear spring, like flowing water, like a bamboo, like the bright moon. With his hands behind his back, he walked over with the members of the Gui Yuan clique. "Your Highness." Seeing Ma Qinyi coming, Luo Qingtong nodded to him. "Brother, don't you want to play?" Seeing that he stood up for Luo Qingtong, Mo Qinxian sneered and said, "No need." Ma Qinyi waved his hand. The matter between Luo Qingtong and Yu Qingwei was caused by him. It was not suitable for him to bet on either side. Otherwise, he really wanted Mo Qinxian to suffer more losses. "I will bear witness." "Brother, have you thought it through? Once this bet is made, you can't regret it. If you can't afford to lose, I won't save you face." Chapter 1038. Ma Qinyi looked at Mo Qinxian with a faint smile. "Brother, you're right. Please don't be biased when the time comes, imperial brother." Mo Qinchuan's words had a double meaning. It seemed that he was talking about himself, but in fact, he was talking about Luo Qingtong. So that Ma Qinyi wouldn't be reluctant to deal with the other party. The group of people opposed each other. Mo Qinxian sneered and asked people to bet all his assets. If he couldn't trick Ma Qinyi, he could trick Luo Qingtong. His brother was so protective of the other party. Maybe he would bet for the other party. If he didn't, then it would be better. If Luo Qingtong couldn't pay for it, then she would pay with her body. He could have a good taste of her. This time, he wanted them to pay back all the things that they tricked him last time. Mo Qinxian thought and left with a sneer. Luo Qingtong looked at him and sighed in her heart that some people were stupid and rich. She would be embarrassed if she didn't trick them. Your Highness, do you want to join in? I'll bet for you. Luo Qingtong transmitted a message to Ma Chenyi with a smile. The latter's lips twitched slightly. Forget it. If the two of them bet like this, even if Mo Qinxian was stupid, he would feel that it was wrong. Ma Chenyi was very happy to see him suffer and didn't want to give him a chance to retreat. Okay. Seeing his concern, Luo Qingtong said with a smile, I'll give you a bonus. Hearing this, Ma Chenyi also smiled. The feeling of tricking Mo Qinxian last time was so good. Ever since the latter's rise, he had never felt so refreshed. But soon, the smile on his face disappeared, and then he walked to the side with Luo Qingtong and said, Princess, that chief, is he sure to win? He looked at Luo Qingtong and hesitated. Qingwei should have broken through the realm of alchemist and can refine elixir. The one you know. Ma Chenyi didn't try to find out the identity of that leader, but he was still worried that she would be able to win against Yu Qingwei. Why don't we just forget about it this time? There were plenty of opportunities to set Mo Qinxian up. The dragon qi in my body has been stabilizing day by day, and I will definitely consign him to eternal damnation in the future. Qingwei really wants to reconcile with you. You don't have to take the outcome of this bet to heart. When Luo Qingtong heard him say so much in one breath, she couldn't help but laugh and say, Okay, I naturally have a sense of propriety. You just have to wait and see. She naturally knew that Yu Qingwei sincerely wanted to reconcile with her, which was why she agreed to this bet. They would know when they arrived in Ma Chenyi. Luo Qingtong looked at him and smiled. She waved at him and left with her people. 3 days later, Luo Qingtong dismissed the people from the Heavenly Demon Group and was about to find a secluded place to change her clothes and participate in the bet as the honorary chief of the Pharmaceutical Institute. But at this moment, she bumped into Mo Qinxian on the way. Luo Qingtong. Looking at the girl who was alone, Mo Qinxian narrowed his eyes slightly. There was no one by his side. Today, the information he inquired about Luo Qingtong and Yi Luo had arrived, and Tong Hu and the others had gone to collect it. The other people from the dragon group weren't qualified to follow Mo Qinxian. Your Highness King Wu. Luo Qingtong didn't expect to meet Mo Qinxian here. The latter looked at her with a gaze as cold as a snake, which she didn't like very much. Especially the hidden desire in his eyes, which made Luo Qingtong narrow her eyes coldly. Chapter 1039. She reckoned that Mo Chenyi wouldn't have much time left to recuperate, so she had to bear with him for a while longer. Luo Qingtong thought, nodded to Mo Qinxian, and was about to leave. However, Mo Qinxian stopped her. You are in such a hurry. Are you going to see the honorary chief of the Pharmaceutical Institute? Mo Qinxian looked at Luo Qingtong and sneered. Junior sister apprentice Luo bet a lot before. I don't know if you know that Yu Qingwei's refining ability has actually broken through the realm of alchemist and entered the level of quasi-alchemist, and she can already refine elixir liquid. Will you still be so confident? I am looking forward to the next gambling fight. I hope you can come up with enough compensation at that time. Of course, there is also the bet of going 10 laps around the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin and shouting I am a bitch. I am also looking forward to it. Mo Qinxian looked at Luo Qingtong maliciously, wanting to see her face change dramatically. Today was the day of the gambling fight. He was not afraid that Luo Qingtong would suddenly withdraw the bet, and she would not have that chance. If he told Luo Qingtong the truth now, would she cry and beg for mercy? If that was the case, he would be able to appreciate it. However, he was destined to be disappointed. Luo Qingtong looked at him indifferently. Her eyes were a little strange, as if she wanted to laugh but was holding it back. Mo Qinxian thought so, and suddenly his face darkened. On the other side, Luo Qingtong suppressed her laughter and glanced at Imo Qinxian. Then, she immediately followed his words. I am also looking forward to your Highness King Wu shouting that you are a bitch. I think the scene must be very spectacular and sensational. When Luo Qingtong said this, she could not hold it in anymore and burst out laughing. It is the first time I have seen a person as self-aware as your Highness King Wu. I really admire you, she said and laughed for a while. Her beautiful face was even more dazzling. Luo Qingtong. Mo Qinchuan's face was furious. He originally wanted to ridicule Luo Qingtong, but he didn't expect that the other party misinterpreted the meaning in his words and humiliated him back. The blue veins on his forehead were exposed. Looking at the beautiful girl who was smiling brightly, he said coldly, Luo Qingtong, don't be arrogant. Do you think that Ma Qinyi can protect you? I tell you, even if you cry and beg me for mercy, I will not let you go. If you can't take out a huge amount of money, you will pay with your body to pay. It just so happens that I also want to have a taste of the woman that Imo Qinai fancies. Mo Qinchuan's eyes. At that time, no one's money, except Luo Qingtong's money. He would make this woman regret her actions under his body. However, before he could say anything, Luo Qingtong stopped him. In an instant, an extremely cold and murderous aura locked onto his body. Mo Qinchuan's face was pale. Only in an instant, he was fixed on the spot by the breath. Who was it? Mo Qinchuan's eyes were full of horror. This breath was full of killing intent. He had no doubt that the other party would kill him without hesitation. In an instant, cold sweat came down from Imo Qinchuan's forehead, and his legs were weak for a while. Luo Qingtong also felt the existence of this breath. Chapter 1040. Chief Instructor, you're back. Yi Qianren's figure walked out from the shadows not far away. His eyes were cold and murderous as he looked at Imo Qinxian, who was opposite Luo Qingtong. He had just returned from outside and heard the other party talking nonsense to Luo Qingtong. He wanted her to cry and beg him for mercy, and wanted her to pay with her body. Yi Qianxian's eyes were full of murderous intent and coldness. The aura all over his body was as cold as a knife, slowly cutting towards Imo Qinxian. He didn't care if he killed the other party. A mere king of martial arts of the Empire of Qin dared to covet his treasures. And with such dirty thoughts, the other party deserved to die. Luo Qingtong looked at the murderous aura all over his body and blinked. No, she couldn't kill Mo Qinxian now. Luo Qingtong still wanted to keep him as a medium to deal with the heavenly doctor. What's more, she had to reverse the dragon energy in his body and return it to Ma Qinyi. How could she let him die so easily? If not, how could she let him live until now? However, Yi Qianxian was so angry now that she was sure that he wouldn't listen to her if she tried to persuade him directly. Luo Qingtong thought about it and suddenly stepped forward. She put her arms around the other party's neck and said with a smile, Chief Instructor, where have you been? Why haven't I seen you for a long time? Fortunately, the other party was the chief instructor. Luo Qingtong had already thought of how to make Yi Qianxian stop. His arm was suddenly held in the girl's arms. The soft touch of the girl's body could be clearly felt by Yi Qianxian even through the robe. In an instant, his body stiffened. Then he slowly turned his head and stared at Luo Qingtong with a pair of cold eyes. This woman was actually so intimate with his alias. Not forgetting that he was Yi Luo, Yi Qianxian felt a burst of irritation in his heart. Naturally, he was happy that Luo Qingtong took the initiative. But when he thought that Luo Qingtong didn't know that he was Yi Luo, but was so intimate with him, Yi Qianxian's heart burned. Could it be that she really fell in love with this alias of his? Yi Qianxian's face was full of anger, but his attention was all on Luo Qingtong. and Mo Chinxian was frozen. Mo's legs went weak and he almost fell to the ground. Not daring to stay here any longer, Mo lowered his head and left with a face full of anger and resentment. Luo Qingtong, Yi Luo. Just you wait. His heart was full of resentment. Yi Qianren did not pay any attention to him. He was just a clown and could be dealt with any time. All his attention was on Luo Qingtong now. Are you worried about me? His tall figure approached the young girl. Just as she was hugging his arm, he pulled her into his embrace and looked down at her. He wanted to see what kind of feelings Luo Qingtong had towards this alias of his. Chapter 1041. Yi Qianxian was furious. This woman used to run away from him in the past. But now, she was so obedient. How did she fall in love with his alias so quickly? Just because he built a waterfall for her to improve her strength, helped her fight against Su Diheng and the others, and saved her several times. Yi Qianxian was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Hadn't he done more for her than Yi Luo? How could she not see it? Yi Qianxian was so angry that he had completely forgotten that this Yi Luo was himself. He had done all those things for Luo Qingtong. Just as he was about to explode with anger, the girl he had pressed against the tree trunk raised her hand and hugged his neck. She smiled and said, "I like it. I like it very much. I like you to death." Luo Qingtong said. She suddenly raised her head and kissed him hard on the lips. Then, before Yi Qianren could fly into a rage, she fell into Yi Qianren's arms with a pft, bending forward and backward as she laughed. Pft. Ha! Yi Qianxian, you're jealous of yourself to this extent. No. I'm dying of laughter. I can't take it anymore. Luo Qingtong's eyes glistened with tears. She hugged Yi Qianxian's neck with both hands and hung her entire body on Yi Qianxian. Ha ha ha. Luo. Qing. Tong. The veins on Yi Qianxian's forehead bulged. However, the angry roar that could make everyone tremble with fear only provoked Luo Qingtong's even more cheerful and light laughter. Ha ha ha. Be good, don't be angry. Luo Qingtong smiled and pecked the man's lips. Then, she couldn't help but burst out laughing. She didn't want to expose the fact that she had seen through his identity so quickly. But the man's reaction was just too cute. Luo Qingtong couldn't hold it in any longer. Luo Qingtong couldn't help but laugh when she recalled how Yi Qianxian had asked her if she liked him. This man, was he forcing a confession or extorting a confession? No, she was going to die of laughter. Yi Qianxian hugged the girl who was laughing so hard in his arms that her body couldn't stop sliding down. He immediately freed a hand to hold her buttocks to prevent her from falling. Then, he gritted his teeth and asked coldly, "When did you find out?" No wonder this woman kept teasing him. It turned out that he had already seen through his identity. Yi Qianxian did not know whether he should be happy or angry. He was happy that this woman didn't fall in love with his alias, and all the intimate actions were because she saw through his identity. He was angry that Luo Qingtong clearly knew his identity but didn't say it out. She deliberately teased him and made him sulk for so long. Pfft. Ha! Luo Qingtong laughed and wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. You can't blame me for that. Who told you to hide your identity and tease me? She made a face at Yi Qianxian. I'm giving you a taste of your own medicine. Actually, she just liked to see Yi Qianxian worried about her but also worried about her. Since he hid his identity, she might as well not expose him and have fun with him. Luo Qingtong said and laughed again. Yi Qianxian looked at her happy and proud appearance and couldn't help but block her lips. Chapter 1042. Luo Qingtong's eyes curved. The moment Yi Qianxian kissed her, she kissed him back. Her personality was strong and evil. Even in a kiss, she didn't want to be in a passive position. Yi Qianren sensed her response, and that pair of cold eyes quickly calmed down. The cold air around him also became much softer. After the kiss, Luo Qingtong lazily lay in Yi Qianxian's arms and asked curiously, "Didn't Feng Yu say that you have something to do and won't be back for a while?" Speaking of this, Yi Qianxian's face became slightly cold. He did have something to do. Thinking of Yu Sihuang, who refused to leave the East region, Yi Qianxian's eyes became cold. But when he looked at Luo Qingtong, his eyes quickly softened. Blackfield received the news that someone is investigating my identity and the origin of the Supreme Holy Token, as well as your past. Yi Qianxian's words were concise and comprehensive. Luo Qingtong heard it and knew what was going on. The "I" he mentioned was definitely not Blackfield's Ming Zun. So, it was this Yi Luo's identity. Someone was investigating him and the origin of the Supreme Holy Token? Interesting. Luo Qingtong's lips curled into a smile. Yi Qianxian's identity as Yi Luo just came to the Holy Academy not long ago, and he almost didn't appear in front of people. The only few times he appeared were for her. Under such circumstances, who would investigate his identity? And even her own affairs were investigated. Luo Qingtong didn't need to think to know who did it. Is it Su Diheng and Mo Qinxian? Only these two people had enough reason and hatred to deal with Yi Qianxian and herself. Yes. Yi Qianxian nodded. If he did not receive this news, he would not have left the matter of dealing with Yu Sihuang and rushed back. Since the other party was investigating him, it meant that they had prepared a big plan to deal with Luo Qingtong. They were afraid that he would ruin their plan, so they wanted to confirm his identity and the origin of the Supreme Holy Token. Unfortunately, they wouldn't be able to find anything. Yi Qianxian owned the Black Field, but he still managed to find out his identity and alias. That would be an undeserved reputation. You have to be careful. They might be coming for you. Yu Wenma was disabled, and Su Jinyue was lying on the bed, half human and half ghost. Su Diheng hated Luo Qingtong so much that she would not let her go easily. Yes, I know. Luo Qingtong's eyes curved. She liked the feeling of being cared for and protected by Yi Qianxian. Even if she could handle it herself, Luo Qingtong was still indescribably happy when she saw Yi Qianxian put down his work and rushed over just to worry about her safety. She was getting more and more used to this man's care. She didn't know if this was a good thing or a bad thing. The two of them were chatting happily. At this moment, dong, dong, dong. In the Sacred Institute's Pharmaceutical Institute, bells rang one after another. It was Luo Qingtong and Yu Qingwei's battle was about to begin. Or rather, the battle between the first seat of the Pharmaceutical Institute and Yu Qingwei was about to begin. Because of their special identities, they completely represented the strongest students of the Sacred Institute of the Empire of Qin. Under such circumstances, the result of the battle between the two naturally attracted the attention of the entire Sacred Institute of the Empire of Qin. The instructors of the Medicine Institute had specially arranged for the medicine competition arena in the Medicine Institute for the two of them to make a bet. Chapter 1043. Honestly speaking, the medicinal skills of this young man in the Grand Qin Sacred Academy were all extremely miraculous. But most people had no idea. After all, the formulas that Luo Qingtong gave to the disciples of the Pharmaceutical Institute couldn't be leaked. And the medicinal liquid resources that she refined for those students, even if it was 10% better than those refined by the Qingwei group, didn't mean that her refining skills were superb. It only meant that her refining skills were good. But the other party was recognized as the chief of the Pharmaceutical Institute by the Grand Dean and the teachers of the Pharmaceutical Institute. And the position of the honorary chief meant that even if someone became the new chief of the pharmaceutical institute, they wouldn't be able to suppress the other party. With all these reasons, everyone naturally wanted to see this mysterious honorary chief of the pharmaceutical institute with their own eyes. Dang, dang, dang. Hearing the bell, Luo Qingtong remembered that she still had a gambling fight today. If she hadn't made a bet with Mo Qinxian, it wouldn't have mattered if Luo Qingtong didn't go to this gambling fight. Anyway, she wasn't going to make trouble for the Qingwei group anymore. But since she had made a bet with Mo Qinxian, Luo Qingtong had to go. Thinking of this, she immediately informed Yi Qianren and slipped out of the man's embrace. Then, she found a secluded place to change her clothes before leaping towards the medicine competition stage. Dang, dang, dang. The bell rang louder and louder. At the Pharmaceutical Institute, almost all the students of the Empire of Qin had come. There was a sea of people all around. Everyone was looking at the huge platform in the square. There, Yu Qingwei was already standing on it, but there was no one on the other side. What's that evil doctor doing? The Grand Dean and the others had also come. Except for him and the teachers of the Pharmaceutical Institute, no one knew that the honorary chief of the Pharmaceutical Institute was the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. The Grand Dean and the teachers of the Pharmaceutical Institute had agreed to use Luo Qingtong as the trump card of the Pharmaceutical Institute in that event. Of course, they wouldn't expose her so easily. He came with a group of teachers to watch the gambling fight this time to remind Luo Qingtong to take it easy and not be so serious. Keep a low profile. Don't expose yourself too early. But what's going on now? This girl agreed to the gambling fight, but now she wasn't going to come. But didn't she make a bet with Mo Qinxian and the others? Didn't she lose if she didn't come? Could something have happened to that girl? Thinking of this, the Grand Dean immediately sent people to look for her. But when he was about to call for help, he realized that no one else knew who she was. If he sent people to look for her, right? That last must have been delayed by something, right? She had to come quickly. While the Grand Supreme Dean was thinking about this, on the other side, Mo Qinxian appeared at the place where the people of the Dragon Regiment were standing. His Highness. Everyone from the dragon group was stunned when they saw him appear with a pale face and cold sweat all over his body. Soon after, someone hurriedly came forward to support him. A member of the dragon group asked. "I'm fine." Mo Qinxian gritted his teeth and waved away the hand of the dragon regiment member who was about to help him. He couldn't tell his subordinates that he was shrouded in murderous intent and almost peed himself, right? Thinking of Luo Qingtong and Yi Luo, who dared to kill him, Mo Qinxuan's heart was filled with rage. The results of his investigation were about to come out. When he got the news, he would make the two of them suffer. Chapter 1044. When he saw that there was only Yu Qingwei on the stage, he immediately sneered. "That honorary chief disciple, she doesn't dare to come," he said as he looked at Ma Qinyi and the others who were not far away. "It seems that Luo Qingtong is going to lose. Imperial brother, you have to be a good witness later. I'm just waiting for her huge bet and the bet of running 10 laps around the courtyard." Mo Qinxian said and laughed loudly. Luo Qingtong's indifference when she heard him say those words before was indeed an act. That honorary chief disciple would be scared stiff when he knew that Yu Qingwei was already able to refine elixirs, right? Knowing that she was going to lose, she didn't even dare to come. Mo Qinxian thought and suddenly felt very proud. His laughter was ear-piercing, and those who knew about the bet between him and Luo Qingtong immediately looked over. If that honorary chief disciple didn't come, Luo Qingtong would really lose. Everyone was thinking when suddenly, a voice suddenly came from not far away. "Who said that I didn't dare to come?" Luo Qingtong, wearing a gauze hat, came from not far away. Her face was hidden in that thin layer of transparent gauze, and one could vaguely see the beautiful outline of her. But when one looked carefully, they couldn't see clearly. She came from the entrance of the medicine battle arena, and in a flash, she appeared on the high platform of the medicine battle arena. When I came just now, I heard a mad dog barking, saying that I was going to lose, so I was delayed and came late. I'm very sorry. Luo Qingtong smiled at Yu Qingwei opposite her. Hearing her words, Mo Qinchuan's forehead instantly burst with blue veins. He almost couldn't help but jump up and ask who she called a mad dog. But in the end, he forced himself to endure. The other party didn't call out a name. If he jumped out like this, it would only be said that he took the blame. Thinking of this, Mo Qinxian was angry in his heart. He knew that the other party was scolding him, but he couldn't refute at all, let alone reprimand the other party. He was simply suffocating to death. Mo Qinxian looked at the masked girl on the high platform with a livid face. Below the stage, Su Xiaoxiao and the others all knew that it was Luo Qingtong. Seeing that their boss came, they immediately exchanged looks excitedly and all looked at the high platform excitedly. Yuan Hu directly shouted, "Yo!" Some people even said that others didn't dare to come. I don't know if it will hurt to be slapped in the face. Ah! Only a person who was used to admitting defeat would say something like that, right? She didn't know if the person who spoke had always been as cowardly as he made himself out to be. How many times did he admit defeat? Yuan Hu's voice was dripping with sarcasm. Obviously, he was targeting Mo Qinxian. However, he learned from Luo Qingtong and did not mention any names. In an instant, he was his uses. He looked sinisterly at Yuan Hu and the others, and then looked at Luo Qingtong who was on the stage with her face covered. Humph. It's hard to say whether you can win or not. I'll see how you lose. Yu Qingwei was already able to refine elixir. There was absolutely no doubt about it. Mo Qinxian was not afraid that she would go easy on them. He just wanted to see how Luo Qingtong and the others would lose. Speaking of which, that woman didn't come. Was she with Yi Luo? What a pair of adulterers. Humph. Chapter 1045. Take it as a punishment for daring to release killing intent on him. A mere chief instructor, that supreme sacred badge might not even be his own. A fox using the tiger's might to intimidate others, and even dared to attack him. Mo Qinchuan's expression was cold and angry, but Luo Qingtong was too lazy to bother with him. She looked at Yu Qingwei and said, "How do you want to compete in this battle?" Yu Qingwei had already walked out from where she was standing. This battle is only to resolve the grudges between us. She looked up at Luo Qingtong and said, "In that case, let's decide the winner in one go. How about it?" Her goal was not to go against the heavenly demon group, but to resolve the grudges between them. One battle, the winner and loser, was enough. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded. Deciding the winner in one go, that was what she meant. It was too troublesome to win 2 out of 3. Moreover, Luo Qingtong glanced at the Grand Principal, who was constantly winking at her, telling her to keep a low profile and not expose her identity. Her lips twitched. The two reached an agreement and immediately started. Luo Qingtong stood at her position, but did not immediately start refining. Instead, she looked at Yu Qingwei. In front of the girl was a huge cauldron specially used for refining pills. It was like a huge square, standing on the high platform. The cauldrons in the medicine battle arena were all specially made, so that the spectators could clearly see the changes in the medicinal properties in the cauldron, eliminating the possibility of cheating. Under Luo Qingtong's gaze, the medicinal properties in the cauldron were constantly merging. Until now, everything that Yu Qingwei had done was the steps of refining pills. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. It was said that Yu Qingwei was already able to refine elixirs, and Luo Qingtong wanted to see how she did it. But she did not expect that the other party had been refining pills all this time. Could it be that she did not intend to use elixirs to decide the winner? If that was the case, then the other party was bound to lose. Luo Qingtong did not intend to go easy on Yu Qingwei. She could let the Yu Qingwei group go after winning. But she could not purposely lose to the other party in a battle. That was disrespect to the opponent. But now, Yu Qingwei took the initiative to propose a battle, but was not going to refine elixirs. Was she that confident? Luo Qingtong was thinking. Suddenly, drawled Yu Qingwei's voice sounded. She stared unblinkingly at the scene in the cauldron. After the medicinal properties had fused to a certain degree, Yu Qingwei's expression turned serious, and she raised her hand to form a seal. Ha! Looking at the mark, Luo Qingtong frowned slightly. That was an elixir seal. When Yu Qingwei was Yu Qingwei. What Yu Qingwei had refined was clearly a medicinal liquid, but she had formed a pill seal that was only needed for refining pills. Yu, and Yu, then, under the control of Yu Qingwei's hand, it slowly fused with the medicinal liquid. Interesting. This was the elixir that Yu Qingwei had refined. Luo Qingtong looked at the elixir, which was slowly fusing and producing miraculous changes, and smiled. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.